everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Best and Worst. This is a show where we like to take one of our favorite talents and talk about what we think are their best and worst films that they have done. And we're really excited to be here again this week. And we hope if you like this smaller episode between the two of us, that you'll check out the longer episode of our Hidden Gems podcast that we do, where we talk about streaming services and the hidden gems on those services. It's a lot of fun. And we'll have all the links for that in the description section. But I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Ryan is here.
Hey Rachel, it's great to be back with you once again. And for best and worst, I'm excited because today we're going to be talking about the best and worst of Pixar. And to be completely honest, this is a little hard because I think even to this day, Pixar is like the gold standard for animation in America. DreamWorks has its moments, Sony as well, and Blue Sky, may they rest in peace, had their moments as well. But it is Pixar here in America. Now, in around the world, Studio Ghibli definitely is. It's definitely a. It's definitely like a. It's definitely a tie. But Pixar is the gold standard. And honestly, picking my best and worst was easy because I've known my best and worst for a very long time, and nothing has changed my mind on that.
Yeah, pretty much me too. I kind of battled as far as the worst between two, one that was disappointing and one that was just not the best. But it was pretty easy. This one was pretty easy. So they are just incredible studio, and I think even their worst efforts are still watchable. Like I mean, and almost all of their films I genuinely like, and I think are really beautiful, interesting, bold films, and even some of their sequels that other people seem to not care for, I really enjoyed. So I just like Toy Story 4 or Finding Dory 2. I mean Finding Dory, I really enjoy that. So I just love the way they tell stories over at Pixar.
A bad Pixar movie is sometimes better than like 90% of the movies you'll see the rest of the year.
Yeah,
That's how good they are.
right. Well, what about you? What is your best? You said it was easy to figure out. What is your best of Pixar?
My best of Pixar, and people will raise an eyebrow, be like, really? That one? Well, this has been my favorite for a very long time now. It is Toy Story 2. Now, I will hear conversations for, like, say, Incredibles, like Ratatouille, maybe the original Toy Story, and that's all well and good. But Toy Story 2 is the best movie uh, of Pixar's premier, I want to say, franchise, because Toy Story is what gave Pixar its life, so to speak, and I consider that to be it's I don't want to say hood ornament, but it's centerpiece. It's centerpiece. Toy Story 2 is just amazing. The first Toy Story was a work of art, so how could you top that? Well, they found a way, and this is the best story of all four of the movies. Woody is, I don't want to say kidnapped, but he's technically kidnapped by a toy store owner who is like, "Hey, a Woody doll, I'm in the money," and he takes it back to his store. And Woody, who has known his entire life, I suppose, that he has been Andy's toy. His name is on his boot and all of that. Until he later learns that he is a part of an ensemble, which includes Jessie, voiced by Joan Cusack, a horse named Bullseye, and a prospector named Stinky Pete, voiced by Kelsey Grammer. Perfect casting choice right there. And Woody basically learns that he was the centerpiece of a big franchise himself. And if he stays with them, then he will go to Japan and be admired by kids for years to come. With the knowledge of that if he goes back to Andy, Andy will grow up and will eventually leave him behind. So there's your mental dilemma. Does he stay or does he go, as the Clash would say? This movie sets up what we see in Toy Stories 3 and 4. Toy Story 3 is all about Andy growing up, and Toy Story 4 is eventually about Woody trying to move on, but knowing that he'll always be Andy's toy and moving on without him and trying to find a next step. And Toy Story 2 has everything you could ever ask in a Pixar movie. It's got an entertaining opening scene with Buzz Lightyear flying down into space and turns out to be a video game. That's a fun reveal. You got a fun plot line with Emperor Zurg that still is funny to this day and a nice homage to Empire Strikes Back. All of the toys are well represented. And just, I could talk about this movie for days, but it has one of my favorite all-time Pixar scenes. The when somebody loved
Oh
me,
yeah.
everything was beautiful. It just breaks my heart every single time. It really does. But that's why this movie is my favorite. It can be funny and it can be deathly serious, and it all succeeds. And Toy Story 2 is just the best. It really
No,
is.
it's a great movie. I really enjoy it. All of the Toy Story movies I love. I give them all very, very high scores. And yeah, two is just is wonderful. I love that, yeah, that whole scene with Jesse when somebody loves you is just devastating. But I also think it's one of the funniest of any of the Pixar films. There's some really funny jokes. That whole sequence where they cross the street is great.
See, my feelings on the four movies are Toy Story 1 is the funniest, Toy Story 2 is the best overall, Toy Story 3 is the most heartfelt, and Toy Story 4 is the most clever.
Yeah, that's fair. My favorite is still the first one. Maybe nostalgia figures in a little bit into that, but I love the script in the first one. I think the script is so good. So yeah, but I love them all. I really do love them four. So great choice. So my best, and I know a lot of people disagree with me on this one, but I don't care. It's my favorite. Is Up is my favorite Pixar movie, and it's been my one of my favorite movies for a long time. I used to say it is my favorite movie when people would ask me. I love the whole journey that Carl goes on in this movie. When people see the happy couple montage at the beginning of the movie, they think that oh well, the movie doesn't go on from there, but actually like that whole montage is actually full of regret for Carl. He feels bad that he didn't give Ellie the life that he thinks she deserved. And so then he finally decides to go on this adventure. And the whole time, it's all about him letting go of his grief and his regret and forgiving himself for what he gave to Ellie. And when he, at the end, when he reads Ellie's message to him in the adventure book, I think it's as powerful as anything in the beginning. And I think it's charming. It's funny. Really like I really like the animation. I love the music. I think it's great. And I think the ending when he's there with Russell and it's found kind of a new purpose for his life is really beautiful and wonderful. And you know, Ellie says, "Go have another adventure," and that's just so moving. And I love the movie. I think it's great. A lot of people think, "Oh, it's only the first 10 minutes that's great." I disagree. I love the whole thing. So,
I really do love this squirrel.
oh,
I really do love this movie. And yeah, it's not just the first 10 minutes. That's literally just the appetizer. The rest of the movie is just a sumptuous feast, I guess. And the scene where Carl finally gets to Paradise Falls, gets everything set up, sits in his chair, and he's like, I've made it. And then he opens up his book and he's like, stuff I'm gonna do there, and he's like, man, it's like I'm here, but no one else is here with me. And then he sees the photo and it's like, that's when we got married. And that was a romantic dinner. And we went to the zoo there. And it's like all of these little moments that you wouldn't think twice about, but then just it weaves a collective tapestry of just beauty, I guess. And then the last image of go have another adventure, it's just like, oh my goodness, I'm getting worked up just thinking about it. And
I
not just that whole thing, but the rest of the movie's great. I love his Carl and Kevin's relationship. Or not Kevin. Kevin's the bird, the little boy Russell.
Russell, yeah.
And I love the dogs, and the lead dog is like, we must find the little boy at all costs because his voice box is busted half the time and all that. Christopher Plummer plays a great villain in Charles Munt's Adventures Out There, and just he turned out to be
Yeah.
real sinister.
And originally they were planning on that the Kevin Bird had eggs that were like a fountain of youth. That's why they looked the same age, Carl and Charles Muntz. But it just was taking up too much time, and so they were like, we think that the audience will forgive that plot hole, and at least for me, I totally do. I have no problem with it. I like this movie so much. I'm going to show you. Uh, when I bought my house, I had a birthday party slash housewarming party,
Ooh,
and I've always wanted to get one of those fancy cakes, so I did it once in my life. And can you see it?
oh, that is so cool.
Isn't that cool?
Who's in
Yeah,
the
it
who's in the
has.
who's in the photo?
Oh, that's one of my friends. I don't even know who that baby is. but but yeah, it has the up house, and then this layer. Remember what it had? It clouds. I think it was just clouds, and then this bottom layer is all of my favorite places that I've traveled to. So it has the ocean, and then it has New York City, and it was so cool. So that
Whoever
just shows how much I love this movie.
whoever designed that cake deserves an award.
Yeah, they did an incredible job, and they also it actually tasted good because a lot of times fondant cakes are just
They
they're not
they
good.
taste like like when you've had too much frosting, like a little's fine, but then you get it like all in your mouth, and it's like I taste nothing but the frosting now.
Hmm. Yeah. So I'll put a link down if people want to see that post I did, but that was back in 2013 when I bought my house. So anyway, that's how much I love that movie. But what about you? What is your, well, I guess we should just say together. We have the same worst for Pixar. It's pretty predictable. I think it's most people's worst.
So 3, 2, 1,
Cars.
Cars 2.
Yes.
Now
Cars too.
let me provide a bit of a context. The reason why I do not like this movie is Larry the Cable Guy is Mater. Now, I actually am a fan of his. I am a fan of his comedy. Larry the Cable Guy does a lot of good in this world. I actually attended a charity show of his where all the profits went to this. I can't remember the charity's name, but he does a lot of good in this world, and he is funny. He nearly ruins this entire movie just with his whole shtick of "Hey, what's all this?" and "Get her done," and it just oh, even
Yeah,
I,
it's
who am a fan of his, I'm just like, just stop. Like, just seriously stop. It's like having ketchup with your fries, but instead of like having the ketchup like off to the side, it's like, are there even fries on here? Like, where did they go?
it's definitely a case of a side character shouldn't have been elevated to the main character. Like he's perfectly fine in the first Cars, but yeah, you just get way too much of him, and then you could tell they learned that lesson because in the third one he's barely in it
He's
at
like
all.
in one scene,
Yeah,
and he's not even in the scene. He's like zooming in on like
right.
get well soon, lightning, and
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah. You see like a telecall from them. That's it. And so yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not as tough on this film as some people are. Like I think it is very beautiful. The animation is great, and all these different cities that they go through, and it's sort of bizarre enough to be kind of interesting to me, but it's definitely their weakest film for sure. The Mater stuff just gets really old, and I don't know, it's just
It just feel like it just feel like they pitched scenarios for Mater and then just like let's just throw in the rest of the cars around it, like
yeah.
Mater in a Japanese toilet or Mater trying wasabi even though he thinks it's pistachio ice cream because of course you would confuse pistachio ice cream for wasabi.
Right. And just the whole Cars world is so nutty and bizarre when you really start to think about it. These like cars that are real. kind of thing. But this just takes it to this other level with this whole spy thing and everything like that. It just wasn't a great idea. They shouldn't have done it. It didn't work. But it has some good qualities, I think, that other people might not recognize. So there we go. That is our best and worst of Pixar. Let us know what you think. What would be your picks? Love to have in the comment section. I'm sure this will get lots of discussion going. So make sure to respect
I
everybody's opinion. But where can people find you, Ryan?
I feel like before I go on to that, I feel like we should be like the king in Two Towers, and so it begins.
Yeah.
But people can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at RyanCam20. Then there's of course my YouTube channel, which is just called Ryan Cam. Uh, I actually did a Pixar ranking either New Year's Day or like the day after New Year's Day. So if you would like to check that out, please do. Then I have a ton of other videos on my channel. I am narrowing the end of the AFI project. I legitimately have 4 movies left to review: Blade Runner, Yankee Doodle Dandy, the original Toy Story, and the 1959 Ben Hur. We're recording this on a Monday, so my episode for Do the Right Thing dropped. And then Wednesday will be Blade Runner, and Friday will be Yankee Doodle Dandy. So check those out when they drop. And then this coming Sunday will be an I Finally Watched video where I will be reviewing The Cat Returns. So if you haven't checked me out, please do.
Yes, you should all definitely follow and subscribe. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So please check that out. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And check out the Patreon group and our merch store. We really appreciate it. We have hashtag Animation Junkie shirts that you can check out. And the merch store. We really appreciate that. So thanks so much, everybody. And we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.